All right. Successful Indie Author 5-Minute Focus, episode 203. Find your foundation. This is a foundation of what makes you an author and how you write, specifically about writing. What is that one thing that no matter what else is going on, you can always write it? It's how you write when you're tired. This is also an important way to show and find this is the foundation upon which I build my stories. Maybe you're great at writing action sequences, maybe scene setup. In my case, readers have told me my dialogue is good. So when I'm having a hard time, always go back to my dialogue, and I'll have characters will have a conversation, and life will be good. This is something that you can always use when you're stuck, because getting stuck is something that happens to everybody. Even if you've outlined it really well, you're going to get to a point in that story where you're contemplating how to make it work from there. Always go back to your foundation, that which you do well, and then reach from there. And this is also your author voice. I have to look at my notes. This is also your author voice. When readers say, hey, I knew that was your story from a snippet because of your voice. And as an author, you probably won't find it. Your readers will probably have to tell you that, tell you what it is. And that's with my dialogue. That's the reader said, oh yeah, your dialogue is great. So that's all right. So that's my foundation. I'm going to hold on to that. It's what, if you need to change that, if you don't like that, hey, I'm really good at sucking the life out of people. I make a great story dark, but I write dark fantasy. I write horror. It's fine. But if you're sucking the life out of a story and your readers, then maybe you want to change that. Maybe that's not your intent. And if you don't, if that's not what you want, developing a new habit takes a serious force of effort. You have to repeat a new behavior until it becomes a habit. Very hard to change, but you can do it with intentionality. Make notes to yourself, put yellow stickies on your monitor. Say, don't write this, write this. And pretty soon you'll be there. Some people use indefinites like some, few, many, all. Look at that. Do a search on your document. See how many of those kinds of words you put in there, which I found after I wrote my first book, a couple of this, a couple of that. I used it on a 120-page book. I used it like 134 times. So every single page, I had a couple of something. It's like, okay. And you can't just say a few or two. What am I trying to say? I grab my tools as opposed to grab a couple of tools. Why a couple of? It doesn't matter. And streamlining, all those kinds of things. So initially, I found my voice kind of sucked because everything was just willy-nilly. A couple of this, some of that, and no, that really wasn't what I was going for. I wasn't going for that. Never really knew for sure what I was doing because the first book I ever wrote, I wrote in first person. So it was me. And no, I didn't know what I was doing, but we fixed all that. Thanks to an editor. So my voice. And then later got into a better dialogue, the interaction between human beings. And that's what that's what really defines my stories now, is they're very dialogue heavy. 40 to 50% of the narrative is dialogue. Because, hey, that's what I'm good at, and that's what I like to do. And so, yeah, let me keep going back to that well, pull out that good stuff, and go from there. First book I ever wrote was End Times Alaska. Actually, it was It's Not Enough to Just Exist, but we retitled that, and it became the End Times Alaska series. So that was the very first book I ever wrote. But your author voice, embrace what makes you great. Embrace the way your mind works, because your mind is going to work differently than anybody else's. And understand how that flows from you through your fingertips or through your dictation and becomes the story. When you read it back, it's like, yeah, that's good. That's you. That's your foundation. Embrace that. And if you had to rewrite it 30 times, well, still embrace that and understand what it takes to write it that way the first time. This is where the more you write, the better off that first draft is going to be, because that's your foundation. Hey, I'm really good at the scene setup, so let me do that. Every scene needs to be set up the right way, and then everything else will flow from there. So take care of that, make it happen, And all of a sudden, you're going to find your books are a lot easier to write, and they're going to read well because, hey, I'm embracing what I do well, so I can spend more brain energy on stuff that I struggle with. Everybody struggles with something. It's okay. It's just don't let your readers know that you're struggling with it because you've worked through it and made it work. Because you've leapt higher from that solid foundation. All right, everybody, that's plenty. Know your foundation. That's your author voice, and embrace it, and make it solid for you to then expand into other areas and make it all work together. Peace, fellow humans.